Good afternoon and welcome to Milestone Mondays. I'm glad you're here joining us today. With us, we have Michele Anderson from North Dakota, and she has a coaching business called McAnderson Coaching. She also has a couple of communities called the Profitable Coach Community and the Mind Body Energy Community. So welcome and glad you joined us today, Michele. And how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you doing today?
Doing fantastic. So explain to us a little bit about your business and she reached a pretty good milestone here on creating this business that she has. So I'm going to turn this over to Michele and let her explain and tell us a little bit more about herself and her coaching business.
Well, I started right now I'm doing like business coaching. Originally, I started my business as a energy practitioner. And I don't know if you want me to go into that really, kind of like where I started and then how that became full circle where I'm at today. Is that what you're wanting me to do,
Or
Teresa?
maybe just to summarize it a little bit, so
Okay.
give us a little bit of background.
So I was or still am an energy practitioner. Back in 2000, in the early 2000s, I went back to school. I took some classes in energy work, just because it helped me immensely. I used to suffer like debilitating migraine headaches. So I started going to this gal that did energy work, and it really made a difference for me. And I've always kind of had my foot in the door of alternative medicine and been very interested in like metaphysical stuff. So whenever I would go to her, I would ask her lots of questions, and she was just like, Michele, you should take the training in energy work. You would be really good at it. And I'm like, okay. Well, my husband and I had moved to North Dakota and to a small community, and I thought, this would be something that I could do once my kids got in school. I could create this business. So that's what I did. I took that training from her and actually took 3 levels of training. And then in North Dakota, back then, you had to have a license to touch in order to work on clients. So I needed to get a license to touch. So I talked my husband into moving our family to Albuquerque, New Mexico, and I went to the New Mexico School of Natural Therapeutics. It's a massage school, but they teach a lot of other healing modalities. And so I went to school there. We packed up our kids and we moved down there for about 8 months, and so I could go to school and complete this training. And then when we moved back home, and then I set up a practice in our hometown, and I did massage therapy, energy work, and then eventually that kind of morphed into like nutrition and wellness coaching. So that's kind of my background. And then in 2018, I did a pivot, and now I'm working with coaches and healers and other service-based professionals to help them grow their businesses online. So that's what I'm doing now, is business coaching.
That's fantastic. Now, you've reached this milestone. One of the things that should we talk about you being in North Dakota? Your community is only like 200 people, and you went ahead and started a business, even though it was that small.
Yep. I always kind of thought that I would own my own business. And when I was a stay-at-home mom, I met my husband in Colorado. We lived in Denver, and then the kids were like 3 and like 1.5. They're only like 18 months apart. And when they were really small, I'm a really creative person, so I became a creative memories consultant. And I don't know if you've heard of them, but they help you. A creative memories consultant will help you like take your pictures and your memories and create like a scrapbook of your memories. And so I wanted to, since I was staying home with my kids, and my husband traveled. He worked in Alaska, so he was gone 3 weeks at a time and then home for 3 weeks at a time. So we kind of decided that since he was traveling so much, that I would be a stay-at-home mom. And so I wanted to create scrapbooks for my kids' baby books. And I thought, I can do that. I want to be able to do that. And since I'm not working full time, like I'm going to make sure that they have a baby book. And so I bought some supplies and then just fell in love with all of that and decided to become a consultant, first off to get my supplies at cost, and then also to teach other people how to like create their pages in their books. And I was really good at it because I was so creative and I had a lot of ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. So then we decided to move our family back to North Dakota, to my husband's hometown. And like you said, that Scranton is only about 200 people. And I seriously think they're counting the dogs and the cats in town.
Yeah.
So it's a really small community, and there isn't really a lot of job opportunities here. When people get hired on, when a job becomes a good paying job, becomes available, like when someone snags it up, they stay in that job until they retire. And it's like, if you're not working in the farming industry or the bank or the grocery store, like you have to travel to go elsewhere for a job. We do have a bar here in town too, but like anyway, I was just kind of like, I don't really want to do any of that per se. I mean, yes, if we needed the money, I would have gotten a job. It wouldn't have mattered to bring money in, but my husband's job that he had allowed us, for me to stay home with the kids and to, be that anchor parent because he was gone all the time. So the whole energy practice and massage practice business, that was it just kind of landed. I came across it and took, through my own issues of having migraine headaches, and felt like that relief from that, and was like, this is something that I could do to help other people.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't wait to get my hands on people to feel their energy and to see what was going on. And so it was a way for me to like create a business in an area that didn't have a lot of jobs. And then also to be able to create a business where I was able to work the hours that I wanted to work around my kids' schedule once they got into school, because they were in grade school when I went back to school and got my license for massage. And I worked during school hours. I would get them off to school, and then I would go into the office and work until about 3:00. And then I would be home. When they got home from school, I was there. So, especially when they were really small. So that worked really well for me as a mom, and then also as a business person.
Fantastic. I know that facing those challenges can be a little daunting at times, but you're a great example of showing how other women can do that. It doesn't matter where you live or your skill set. You take what's natural and what you want to do and create something out of that, rather than
Right. And I mean, I think that most people who are in business, a lot of times they have come to that because of experiences that they've had in their life that's kind of brought them to kind of on a path to there. I mean, I've always been really interested in metaphysical stuff and energy and things like that, law of attraction. And by having that business, I was able to learn more about it. And really, it made me realize like how much I was doing energy work, even from a very young age. Just because I was the go-to person whenever someone wasn't, not necessarily adults, but it's like my friends, whenever they had a problem, like I was the one that they came to and talked to me about stuff. It's like I had a really good ear, was a good ear. And then, even like thinking back, like to when I was younger, it was like, there were times when something would come up, even with adults, and they would be talking about something, and I would be like, oh, well, have you thought about this? And it's like something that I would say that, that would give them an idea of something to pursue that, they weren't really asking me as a kid about that. So like I said, looking back, it made me realize how much I was already sort of, it was really interesting to me from a young age, like how people ticked, like why did they act the way that they did? Why did they make the choices that they did? Like the like psychology stuff was always really interesting to me too. Like why do they make the choices that they make? And there is a mental and emotional component to every imbalance that you have in your body. And really, there's a mental emotional component to every experience that you have. So when I went to before I decided to go to massage school, and the reason I went to Albuquerque was the director at that school, he was actually the founder of this body of work called core synchronism, and that was the energy work that I trained in first. And I trained in 3 levels of that before I went to the massage school to actually take official training in massage therapy. And it was so funny because the gal that taught the first level, I thought, at first when I first started, I thought I was going to take one class and I was going to learn some things. It was going to help me with my migraines. That's what I was thinking it was going to do. I didn't have this big plan that it was going to morph into this other stuff. And so I took that one class and became even more interested in it. And then took another class. She taught the first 2 levels. And then the director of this school in Albuquerque, it was his body of work that was the energy work that I learned. And he actually flew up to North Dakota. And the gal who taught the first 2 levels, she had enough people that had taken level 1 and level 2 that he actually flew up to North Dakota and taught level 3 to all of us. So I learned level 3 like 2 weeks before we moved to Albuquerque, and I started the massage program. And level 3 was really all about the brain and how the brain moves, the bones and the lobes, and it's just fascinating work. Anyway, so it was really interesting to me how people kind of tick. I'm just trying to get back to that. Well, before I decided to go to massage school in Albuquerque, the gal that taught the first class, she was like, you should go down there, and they have like an intro to massage weekend like twice a year. You should go down there and check it out. And she's like, you could learn some massage basics and see if you would even like doing massage and check out the school. And I'm like, that's a really good idea. So my husband gifted me a trip to Albuquerque that year for my birthday in October. And the kids Ryan wasn't even in school yet. Courtney was she must have been a 3rd grader. Well, maybe he hadn't started. I don't know how it worked out, but I made sure the kids were taken care of. And then my husband flew me down there on his mileage, and I stayed. It was like a Saturday, Sunday class. And so I flew down there on Friday, and I thought, you know what, it's kind of a bigger city. Albuquerque's pretty big.
Right.
And I thought, I'm just going to go and see if I can find the school and figure out what door I need to go into so I know where I'm going tomorrow. And so, because I wasn't sure how big their campus was or anything. And so I found the school and went inside and asked where it was going to be at. And the people that helped me, they were like, oh, would you like to take a tour of the school? And I'm like, well, sure. So I did. And they kind of toured me around, and they were like, okay, the afternoon session is in right now. Would you like to sit? They're going to be starting soon. Do you want to sit in on the afternoon class? And I was like, well, what's the class about? And they were like, well, it's about flower remedies. And it's like, oh, well, to me, that's what are flower remedies? I didn't really know. And so I was thinking, well, I'll sit in, but I'm going to sit by the door, because if it's really boring, I'm going to excuse myself politely and leave. And I'm going to go to the mall to go shopping, because there's no malls in Scranton. Right. So, Robert, actually, he was the director at the school. He was actually teaching the flower remedies class, and he was talking about spider lily. It's actually a flower remedy. It's kind of all flower remedies treat treat like the mental emotional component. And what they do is when you take the remedy, it helps bubble that up to the surface to be released. And so when you have this issue, you find the remedy that matches that, and you take that remedy, and that helps bring that out and balance it out. And the spider lily remedy was about like this dark energy, and it was just fascinating. He only went over like maybe 2 remedies during the class, but it was like, I gotta go here, like this is it. Like they're talking about like all this like psychology stuff, but it was different than like a psychology class. It was based more on emotions and the mentality of it, but also the emotions. And that was really interesting to me. So it was like, I knew that day that I sat in on that class, it was like, I'm going to go to school there. I don't know how I'm going to make this happen, but I'm going to come here and go to school. So, and it wasn't, I think it was, that happened like in October. And I think it was like the next, like July, we moved. So I had to do a lot of talking to my husband to get him talked into relocating our family.
That's fabulous that he was on board. Well, this is all fascinating, and we're kind of running out of time for today. But Michelle's going to join us again for Woman to Woman Wednesdays, and talk a little bit more about how we can tap into our energy and work in our strengths rather than our weaknesses. And she has some other information to share with us. So tune in on Wednesday, and I'll put all of Michelle's contact information in the comments with this video, so you can connect with her to find out a little bit more about her, and especially if you're in a business and you'd like to see about business coaching with her. So we thank you for being here on Milestone Mondays, Michele, and we'll see you again on Wednesday.
Okay, thanks.